Hello everyone, welcome to V2Bacademy and I welcome you all to the class 2 on geomorphology. Okay, we are going to study the second topic, that is geological timescale under geomorphology. So before doing that, let me quickly revise what we have done in the last class. Okay, in the first class of geomorphology, we have studied initially what is geomorphology is. I have told you geomorphology is nothing but it's the study of physical features and the surface of the earth. Okay, on the surface of the earth, and also we'll study the processes through which these features are found. So this is something which I have elaborately explained you in the last class, and then I have told you what are the different topics that we are going to deal as part of geomorphology for the UPSC, and then I've directly jumped to the first topic, that is origin and evolution. I've told you that origin and evolution are two different terms. We have already read about the origin of the earth through the theories like Big Bang theory and nebular hypothesis. So I've directly jumped into evolution part in the last class. I've told when earth was originated, so it has the features like magma. Okay, hot magma was there. It was like a molten ball of mass, and the matter got mixed up inside the earth's surface, and it was volatile, unstable, barren, rocky. These were the features of the earth when it was born or when it is originated. Then I have told you gradually earth got cooled down, and the temperature inside the earth and outside the atmosphere, in the early atmosphere, the temperature that was there was gradually getting cooled down due to the heat release, as there were no nuclear reactions inside the earth. Okay, and initial atmosphere was consisting of hydrogen and helium, very thin layer of gases. And then I have told you directly went to the evolution. I have told you that evolution can be studied under two broad headings. One is how earth interior was evolved, and the second one is how the atmosphere and hydrosphere have evolved. I've told you there are important steps like density separation, condensation, differentiation. So these are the different steps that are involved for the interior of the earth to be evolved. And then we have went to the evolution of the atmosphere and hydrosphere. So before getting into the evolution, I have told you what is atmosphere and what is hydrosphere. Then I have explained you the different stages like degassing, volcanic eruptions, condensation of water vapor, okay, precipitation, repeated rain cycles. I have told you how the oceans are formed. Okay, I have told you the first life that was originated on the earth was non-photosynthetic. Okay, and the unicellular organisms were born initially inside the oceans. Later, blue-green algae, after several years, were born. After that, as algae was photosynthetic, it was releasing a lot of oxygen. As oceans became saturated, they started flooding the oxygen to the atmosphere. So that's the reason, despite of having a lot of carbon dioxide during the volcanic eruption stages, later what happened is the atmosphere, the composition of the atmosphere was having the highest amount of the oxygen after the nitrogen. Okay, in this way I have explained you about the different events that have taken place in the origin and the evolution of the earth part, and I have explained you how we can take the inputs from the question that was asked from this particular area in the previous years. Okay, for the mains point of view. Then I have explained you through the same topics through the NCERT in order to avoid the FOMO. Okay, next I've told you and explained you fewer questions that are given in the NCERT part. Okay, we have even solved the questions that are given in the back of NCERT, the back of the chapter of the NCERT. Okay, this was about the last class, so this is a quick recap that I can give you. Now we are going to study the second topic, that is nothing but the geological timescale. So first of all, let me tell you what is geological timescale. Okay, so geological timescale is like a Earth's history book. Okay, so for the ease and convenience of us, what we have done, we have divided the age or the time into years. Okay, year is again divided into months. Months are divided into weeks. Weeks are divided into days. Days are divided into hours. Hours are divided into seconds, and so on. We have done this because we want the convenience. We want it to be convenient enough to calculate. In the same way, the history and the different events that were taken in the history of the evolution of the earth, in order to understand about the different events in the history of evolution of the earth, we have divided the history of the evolution of the earth into different time scales. So that is nothing but the geological time scale. Okay, we are going to we are going to dive deep into this particular geological time scale in today's class. Okay, so I'm hoping that you're excited. So let's start. Okay, Yeah, this is the picture or the image that I've directly taken from the NCERT book of class 11, The Fundamentals of Physical Geography. This is the important standard book. Lot of toppers follow for UPSC, right? So the same book contains this particular image. I have copied that particular image from that particular book in order to make you understand. Okay, so let's see. So the geological time scale was divided into different parts. So as we divide year into months, months into weeks, weeks into days, in the same way the time scale is divided into different types. Okay, the largest unit is eon, and eon is divided into different eras. Eras are divided into different periods. Periods are divided into different epochs. Epochs are divided into different ages. Okay, I'll repeat it again. Eons are divided into eras. Eras are divided into periods. Periods are divided into epochs. Epochs are divided into ages. How to remember this? Remember EEP. Remember this abbreviation or this particular code, that is EEP. Okay, remember EEP. Okay, EE means eons and eras. P means periods, epochs and ages. So this is how I remember. Okay, so this is how you can also remember. If you have the better mnemonic, you can try. Okay, so let's see. So I've told you around 13.7 billion years ago, or 13,700 million years ago. So the Big Bang has taken place, that we have studied in the last classes. Okay, supernova explosion has taken place. We have seen even the nebular hypothesis. We have seen how the stars were originated, different galaxies were originated, and how the solar system, okay, our own solar system was born. Okay, how the different planets of our own solar system were born, and we have seen even how Earth was originated. So this was happening till 4,800 million years ago. So after the Earth was originated 4,000 million years ago, the evolution part will be studied under different eons, epochs, periods, ages and many more. So we have to mainly concentrate from this particular point of time, that is 4,800 million years ago. Okay. So I've told you the largest unit is eons. Let's see how many eons are there. So there are mainly 4 types of eons: Hadean, Archean, Proterozoic and Phanerozoic. These are the 4 types of eons that are existing. Okay, let me repeat it again. Hadean, Archean, Proterozoic, Phanerozoic. These are the 4 type of eons that are present. So I'll tell you a short mnemonic in order to understand, or in order to remember it in a chronological way. That is, remember the word called as happy. H is Hadean, A is Archean, P is Proterozoic and other P is Phanerozoic. And if you have that confusion which comes earlier, whether Proterozoic or Phanerozoic, remember that Pro means the initial one, the Proto means the initial ones. Okay, that is the reason Proterozoic comes earlier and then comes the Phanerozoic. Okay, so initial one is Hadean, then later one is Archean, Proterozoic is the later one, and the last one is Phanerozoic. So this is the eon which we are living on. Okay, so we are living in the Phanerozoic eon. And I've told you that eons are divided into different eras. Okay, so if you look at the different eras that are there in the Proterozoic, Hadean and the Archean eons, so you don't need to remember. Basically, you can call it as a Precambrian age. Why we are calling this particular era as a Precambrian era? It's because, let me tell you. So the eras are divided into periods, right? Okay, eons are divided into eras. Eras are divided into periods. Periods are divided into epochs. Epochs are divided into ages. So this is the order. I have told you that we are living in Phanerozoic eon. And Phanerozoic is divided into 3 important eras. One is Paleozoic era, one is Mesozoic era and one is Cenozoic era. Remember, there are 3 eras under Phanerozoic. One is Paleozoic era, one is Mesozoic era, one is Cenozoic era. Again, the Paleozoic is divided into different periods. Mesozoic is divided into different periods. And the Cenozoic also divided into different periods. If you observe, if you look at how the Paleozoic was divided into different periods, there are almost 6 periods that are there under the Paleozoic. One is Cambrian, one is Ordovician, one is Silurian, one is Devonian, one is Carboniferous, and one is Permian. So if you remember, if you observe this particular name, the first period name is Cambrian. So anything before Cambrian can be called as Precambrian. This is the reason we call the era under the Hadean, Archean and Proterozoic, the eras under this particular eons are called as Precambrian eras. So why? Because these are before Cambrian periods. Okay, these were before Cambrian, so that's why we are calling generally them as, okay, we call them generally as Precambrian. Okay, so I'm repeating again. So we are living in the Phanerozoic eon. Again, this Phanerozoic is divided into 3 important eras. One is Paleozoic era, one is Mesozoic era, one is Cenozoic era. I know this particular thing is a bit complicated, but if you listen to the class with full of concentration, definitely you'll understand. And my suggestion is re-listen this particular class twice or thrice in order to remember and memorize the facts. Okay, so this is one of the toughest subjects or toughest part of the geography that I can tell you. Okay, that is the reason you need to have full concentration when you are listening to geological timescale. Okay, I'll repeat it again. Okay, I've told you that eons are divided into eras. Eras are divided into periods. Periods are divided into epochs. Epochs are divided into ages. I've told you a mnemonic that is EEP. Eons, era, period, epoch and ages. If you look at what are the different eons that are there till now, there are 4 important eons that are there. I have told you to remember the mnemonic called as Happy, Hadean, Archean, Proterozoic and Phanerozoic. So when you repeatedly pronounce or when you repeatedly say this particular term, definitely in the long term you'll understand and you'll remember these particular words also. Okay, Hadean, Archean, Proterozoic and Phanerozoic are the different eons that are there till now, and we are living in the Phanerozoic eon. Okay, if you divide the Phanerozoic eon into different eras, there are 3 important eras. There are 3 broad eras. One is Paleozoic era, one is Mesozoic era, one is Cenozoic era. If you divide each of this era into different periods, let's see what are those. Paleozoic era is divided into 6 important periods. Mesozoic era have divided into 3 important periods, and Cenozoic era is divided into 2 important periods. So let's see one after the other. Okay, so before that, let me tell you, let's go back to the eon, the Hadean eon. So what are the different events that took place in the Hadean eon? So we have read about the density separation, condensation, differentiation, degassing, volcanic eruptions and the formation of the oceans. All of these events we have studied, which we have studied in the evolution of the earth, were happened in the Hadean eon itself. So Hadean eon consists of most of the activities like ocean formation, volcanic eruptions, degassing, differentiation, condensation and density separation. Okay, all of this have taken place in the Hadean eon. Okay, next, what happened during the Archean? Definitely Hadean ended with the formation of the ocean. So definitely Archean starts with the evolution of life. Okay, but even in the Proterozoic eon, life started evolution or originated. Life started originated. So if you remember and if you observe this particular word, that is Proterozoic. Zoic means life. Life started originated during Proterozoic and then it continued in the Phanerozoic. Again Zoic. Zoic means life. Okay, I hope you have understood how they are named. Okay. So in this Archean eon, evolution of life started. Okay, but most of the life during the Proterozoic and Archean eons were restricted to the water only. Marine life was only there. No terrestrial life was started during this particular eons. Okay, this is something which you have to remember. And during this Archean, during this Archean and Proterozoic itself, blue-green algae and soft-body arthropods have originated. Okay, soft-bodied arthropods and also the blue-green algae were originated during this particular Archean and Proterozoic eon itself. Okay, I hope you have understood. Now, the main concentration that we need to have should be in the Phanerozoic eon, because this is the eon which we are living in. Okay, so I've told you we have divided the Phanerozoic into different eras. I'm repeatedly doing this. I'm repeating all the important terminology because I want you people to memorize this terminology in the class itself. Okay, so Phanerozoic eon is divided into different eras. What are those? Paleozoic, Mesozoic and Cenozoic eras. Let's look at one after the other. So the Paleozoic era is divided into different periods. Those are Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous and Permian. So let's see. So Cambrian is a period at which life started exploded. It means life started originating, okay, with a larger quantity. Many living organisms were born during this particular period of time. So that's the reason we call Cambrian period as Cambrian explosion of life also. Okay, we call it as Cambrian explosion of life. Okay, however, despite of the explosion of life got restricted to the water itself. Okay, marine invertebrates were born, or marine invertebrates were originated. Okay, and there was no terrestrial life during this particular time. Invertebrates are nothing but the organisms which do not have any spine. So the organism which do not have spine will not live for the longer period of time. So spine give that flexibility to organism to hunt, to eat, okay, to observe the things or to do many activities which helps in elongation of the life cycle or the life period. But the invertebrates will have less life period. Remember this. Okay. All of this happened during the Cambrian period. The next important period is Ordovician. Ordovician is the period where first vertebrates, means the living organisms which have spine, got originated. But again, this particular life was restricted to again the water itself. The first fish was originated during Ordovician. So after the Ordovician, or at the end of the Ordovician, one of the important activities was taken place, that is nothing but the first mass extinction. What is this mass extinction all about? Let me tell you. So mass extinction is a stage where large scale of death of life will take place. Okay, this is the period of time at which the larger amount or the larger scale of death will take place. Okay, more than 70% of the organisms will die. That too in very short period of time. Till now we have almost seen 5 mass extinction. Okay, so we have seen till now 5 mass extinction. So we'll go to the stage where we feel that the whole earth will be collapsed, the organisms that are there on the earth will be collapsed. But at the final stage or at the climax stage, everything will again seems to be okay. Earth will start adaptation, organisms will start adaptation, and they'll again grow. Okay, so again everything happens in a good way. So there are almost 5 mass extinctions that have taken place till now. Okay, so first one was at the end of Ordovician period. Okay, so this mass extinctions can be due to a lot of reasons. For example, it can be because of the natural reasons like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, because of the fall of the meteoroids. Okay, it can be due to any of the natural reasons, and it can be due to the anthropogenic reasons also. I'll tell you about this by the end of this particular lecture. Okay, how anthropogenic reasons can be there for the mass extinction. I'll tell you by the end of this particular lecture. Okay, let's go back. I've told you Ordovician. At the end of the Ordovician, the first mass extinction has taken place, and the next important period is Silurian. Silurian is an important period because this is a period at which the first trace of life on land got originated. That too, the plants were originated. Okay, first time plants got originated on the land. The first terrestrial, the first trace of life on land got originated during the Silurian period. Let me tell you, you may ask me, there is no soil. Soil has not formed. Still, how the plants are growing? How plants got originated? It's because this particular period of time we have seen the growth or the origin of the lichens. Lichens are the organisms which can actually grow on the rough areas, barren rocks, and even on the walls, even on the rocky areas, even on the rocks they can form. If you observe the lichens, they can grow even on the rocks. They require only little amount of moisture. So that is the reason the first plants that are to be originated are lichens. Okay, with time what will happen is ecological succession will take place. How ecological succession will take place? So definitely as organisms are born, definitely they'll die at any period of time. So as lichens are born, okay, they lived for the period of time, they have died, okay. So after they die, definitely the decomposition activity will take place, right? They'll release lot of chemicals, okay. The decomposition will result in the formation of soil, and also whatever the chemicals that are released during the decomposition, so these chemicals will lead to the crackdown of rocks that are there, okay. Crackdown of different rocks that are there inside the earth, okay, and on the surface of the earth. This led to the formation of the soil. As soil has formed, initially very thin layer of the soil was formed, because of which grasses started growing, okay. Again the cycle repeats. As grasses die, decomposition will happen, okay. This will lead to more soil formation, and again trees will start forming, okay. Trees will be originated, again trees will die, this will lead to decomposition, this will lead to soil formation, big trees will born, okay. Big trees are born. In this way finally the forest got originated. This is how the ecological succession will take place. This is how life on terrestrial land was originated. I hope you have understood, okay. So the first terrestrial life, or the first trace of life on land, was during the Silurian period. Remember this. And the next important period is Devonian period. So this is the period where amphibians were originated. Amphibians are the organisms which can actually have a capability to live on land and also to live in the water, okay. So the amphibians originated during Devonian period. The next important period, so before that let me tell you, at the end of Devonian, the second mass extinction has taken place. The second mass extinction is during the end of the Devonian period. The first mass extinction was at the end of the Ordovician. The second mass extinction is during the end of the Devonian. Now let's go back to the periods. So after Devonian, the next important period is Carboniferous. So the Carboniferous period is the period where the first reptiles were born. Okay, the first reptiles were born during the Carboniferous. But let me tell you, Carboniferous, the name Carboniferous was given to this particular period because the coal started forming at this particular point of time. Let me tell you what is the reason for the coal formation during this particular Carboniferous period. So I've told you the life started originated on the earth and on the land, okay. And during this particular phase, continental drift has taken place. So you'll study about the continental drift in the coming classes, but let me tell you in a simple language, okay. We have different lithospheric plates on the earth, okay, below the earth's surface. So these particular plates will start moving, they'll start colliding, they'll form the cracks, okay, they'll form the cracks inside the earth. So whatever the cracks that has taken place on the surface and also on the, okay, in the interior of the earth, whatever the cracks that have taken place on the surface and in the interior of the earth, so that particular cracks were occupied by the different terrestrial plants that were there. So these terrestrial plants which occupied the positions of the different cracks that are there on the surface of the earth, so they started dying, okay. They started dying, and there are favorable conditions that were born, okay. In this particular cracks, plants started dying, and it led to the anaerobic condition. Anaerobic condition is nothing but this cracks doesn't have any oxygen, okay, and lot of temperature and lot of pressure was there. So this led to the formation of coal, okay. This plant started forming the coal because of different chemical processes that were taking place. Anaerobic conditions were favorable, high temperature and pressures were favorable for the formation of the coal at this particular period of time. Okay, so this particular period is known as Carboniferous. So as coal was first formed during this particular period, it was named Carboniferous. Okay, next important period is Permian. So Permian is a period at which reptiles started dominating. They slowly started dominating and replacing the amphibians. Okay, reptiles started dominating. And at the end of the Permian, okay, at the end of the Permian period, again the third mass extinction has taken place. Okay, so after the mass extinction, it is turtles and it is reptiles and frogs. Okay, for example, frogs started dominating. So they survived even after the mass extinction. So that is where we can see the dominance of the frogs and turtles during the Mesozoic era. Okay, we have completed the part of the Paleozoic era. We have studied about Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous and Permian. Okay, after every two, one mass extinction has taken place. Remember like this. After every two, the second. After the third two, the third one. In this way, three mass extinctions have taken place during the Paleozoic era. Okay, so I'll repeat everything again. So during the Cambrian period, there was no terrestrial life. Marine invertebrates were there. Ordovician has the first vertebrates. Silurian, at this particular time, we have seen the first trace of life on land. And then Devonian, during this Devonian, amphibians were originated. During Carboniferous, first reptiles were seen. During Permian, reptiles dominated and they started replacing amphibians. Okay, now let's go to the Mesozoic era. So during the Mesozoic era, we can divide the Mesozoic era into three different periods. One is Triassic, one is Jurassic and one is Cretaceous. Okay, we are dividing Mesozoic era into three important periods. One is Triassic, one is Jurassic and the other one is Cretaceous. Okay, let me take you one after the other. So let's take Triassic period. So Triassic periods we have seen. So after the mass extinction, after the third mass extinction, it is turtles and it is frogs and it is reptiles. They started survived. Okay, they started surviving even after the mass extinction and they started dominating. Okay, after the Triassic, we have seen again one mass extinction. This is the fourth mass extinction. Okay, remember that after the Triassic, we have even seen the mass extinction, that is the fourth one. Okay. So after the fourth mass extinction, it is the Jurassic period. So Jurassic period is named after Jura mountains in France. Remember that. Okay. So this particular period, as you all know, this is the age of dinosaurs. So dinosaurs are nothing but the reptiles only. But they'll have the huge body. Reptiles started adapting and reptiles started growing their own body. So simply we can say like this. Okay. So Jurassic period is a period at which this was the age of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs started growing, dinosaurs started originated, and it is the Cretaceous period at which we can see the dinosaurs went to very much peak and they started extincted. Slowly at the end of the Cretaceous, the extinction of dinosaurs started taking place. Okay, it is after the Cretaceous period we have seen the fifth mass extinction. This is the final mass extinction that have taken place. Okay. So what happened? Why during this particular Cretaceous, at the end of the Cretaceous, we have seen the mass extinction? So it is because it is believed that large body, a meteoroid has fell on the earth. So it has fell in the Yucatan Peninsula. Yucatan Peninsula is in Mexico. So at that particular place, a large body fell there. Okay, because of which magma started erupting, and the impact of that particular magma eruption was actually it is actually creating a rippling effect throughout the earth. Throughout the earth, the impact was spreaded, because of which lot of earthquakes started developing, and because of that the flora and fauna on the earth were lost, and this led to the mass extinction. Okay, so now let's go back to the story again. So we have completed the Mesozoic era also. Now let's go to the Cenozoic era. So Cenozoic era is the era which we are living in. Okay, Cenozoic era can be divided into two important periods. One is Tertiary period and one is Quaternary period. Okay, let's see what are the different epochs that are there under the Tertiary. So there are different epochs that are there in the Tertiary. Paleocene, Eocene, Oligocene, Miocene and Pliocene. You just remember the chronology. Not very important, just remember the chronology of the epochs, that is enough. Okay, so frame any mnemonic in order to remember it in a chronological way, that will be enough. And there are different activities that are taken place during the Tertiary, which is not okay, you don't need to remember exactly at which epoch what happened. You can broadly remember that during this particular period what happened is small mammals were born. Okay, and we have seen the origin of bipedals. Bipedals are nothing but apes. Okay, so apes used to have bipedals, that means 2 legs will be enough for them to survive. Okay, and next we have seen the origin of flowering plants and trees during this period, and even we have seen early human ancestor was born during the tertiary period only. And tertiary, at this particular tertiary period time, we have seen the formation of alpine mountains. For example, Alps, okay, Rockies, Andes, Himalayas, all of this were originated and born during this tertiary period only. Okay, so this is about tertiary period. Now let's go to the period in which we are living in, that is quaternary period. Again, if you look at the quaternary period, it can be divided into 2 epochs. One is Pleistocene epoch, one is Holocene epoch. So these are the different epochs that are there under the quaternary. Okay, what happened in the Pleistocene and what happened in the Holocene? Let me tell you, Pleistocene epoch is an epoch where biological evolution of Homo sapiens have taken place. It means humans have started, humans evolution has started biologically during this particular Pleistocene epoch. And later, Holocene epoch, under the Holocene epoch, we have seen the development of the modern man. And the cultural evolution of the modern man has taken place during the Holocene epoch. So this happened because at the end of the Pleistocene and in the starting period of the Holocene, we have seen the last ice age. After the ice age, after the end of the ice age, man started coming outside of the forest. They started looking at the empty lands, whatever the frozen area that was there before started melting down, and man was able to see the different areas. They were able to travel from one place to another. So they started searching for different resources. In order to gain energy, they need to have food, right? So for that, they started exploring different resources by traveling. Then when they started traveling in the communities, they had that social bonding that got developed. Later what happened is, so when they started traveling from one part of the place, like from one part to another part or from one forest to another forest, they started looting the resources of other community. In this way, the tribal wars started taking place. They started forming tribes, and later the tribal wars have taken place for the sake of resources. Later, what they felt is, in order to win the wars, we need to have the leader. In this way, they started electing the leader. So the tribal leader or the king system or the monarchical system started forming during this particular time. As the monarchical system have developed, the king used to have lot of luxury. King got habituated to lot of luxury, because of which larger kingdoms were born. Larger luxuries for the king was born. Larger amount of respect was given to the king and queen. In this way, monarchical system was born, and later we know colonialism and imperialism have stopped this monarchialism, and the world has converted and went towards the democracy in the later times. After the democracy and even during the colonialism, industrial revolution has taken place. Because of the industrial revolution, the atmosphere and the environment started spoiling. Because of the release of lot of dangerous elements into the atmosphere, so the atmosphere and environment got it spoiled. They started spoiling. Humans started spoiling the environment. That is when again this Stockholm Conference, Paris Agreement, and different conferences and different meetings popped up. They started popping up because of all of this negative impacts on the atmosphere. So that is the reason we see presently, we can actually divide presently the Holocene epoch into different ages. I've told you, eons can be divided into eras, eras into periods, periods into epoch, and epochs can be divided into ages. So if you take particularly the Holocene epoch, we can divide the Holocene epoch into different ages. So if you broadly classify them into different ages, there are 3 important ages. One is Greenlandian age, one is North Grecian age, one is Megalayan age. From 11,200 million years to 8,200, that is Greenlandian. From 8,200 to 4,200 is the North Grecian, and 4,200 to present is a Megalayan. So if you look at the Megalayan age, the name of it was born, or the name of it was originated from our own Meghalaya itself. In Meghalaya, the scientists and the geographers were able to see the impact on the earth. The impact on the earth due to anthropogenic factors were seen, and they have found the evidence in a cave called as Maulua Cave. So they started observing stalactite and stalagmites. Okay, these are a certain kind of landforms. So they started observing these landforms, and they have made it confirmed that, so this is an evidence that Earth started, the mass extinction of the Earth started because of the human activities. And they named, some of the geographers, but it was not officially declared. Some of the geographers have declared that we are in the 6th mass extinction stage. So this is the extinction because of the human activities or the anthropogenic factors. So this is the only mass extinction which is derived from the anthropogenic factors. So I have told you, right, even anthropogenic factors can be the reason for the mass extinction. So this is the answer for that. So many scientists and many geographers concluded that human activities are the reason for the next mass extinction, that is the 6th mass extinction, that is going to be happening in the very near future. Okay. So this is the geological time scale and the history of the Earth. Let me tell you, the geological time scale is given by a commission called as International Commission on Stratigraphy. Okay, this is the commission which gives this geological time scale. I hope you have understood everything in detail. Okay, let me repeat everything again. So I have told you geological time scale. If you divide them into different things, we can divide into eons, era, period, epoch and age. So you can remember with the mnemonic called as EEP, eon, era, period, epoch, age. So there are 4 important eons, that is Hadean, Archean, Proterozoic and Phanerozoic. So we are staying in the Phanerozoic, but if you look at the events happened in the Hadean eon, that are the density separation, condensation, differentiation, degassing, volcanic eruption and the formation of the oceans taken place under the Hadean eon. Next, under the Archean and during the Proterozoic, we have seen the origin and evolution of the life. However, it was restricted to the water itself. Next, we are living in the Phanerozoic eon, and the Phanerozoic eon was divided into 3 important eras: Paleozoic era, Mesozoic era and the Cenozoic era. And further, these eras are divided into different periods. So Paleozoic era is divided into 6 important periods: Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous and Permian. During the Cambrian, we have seen no terrestrial life, but marine invertebrates started originating. During Ordovician, we have seen the first vertebrates, that are fish. During Silurian, for the first time, we have seen the first trace of life on land, that is the lichen started developing. The ecological succession started its origin during this Silurian stage. It is Devonian. It is Devonian period at which the amphibians started originated. And during the Carboniferous, we have seen continental drift happen, the coal formation have taken place, first reptiles were born. And it is during the Permian, reptiles started dominating the amphibians. They started replacing the amphibians. And then we went to the Mesozoic era, under which we have divided this particular era into 3 important periods, that is Triassic, Jurassic and Cretaceous. Okay, it is during the Triassic we have seen the domination of the reptiles, turtles and frogs. Okay, and it is during the Jurassic we have seen the domination of dinosaurs, and by the Cretaceous we have seen the extinction of the dinosaurs. And then we have went to the Cenozoic era, that is our own era. Okay, we are living in Cenozoic era. So it can be divided into 2 important periods. One is Tertiary and one is Quaternary. Okay, at the Tertiary we have seen the formation of the Himalayas, Andes and other alpine mountains. And Tertiary can be divided into different epochs like Pliocene, Miocene, Oligocene, Eocene and Paleocene. And during this particular period of time, rats, small mammals and apes, flowering plants and trees, they all started originated. Even the early human ancestors started originated during this particular period of time. And then we have seen the Quaternary period, which divided into 2 important epochs. One is Pleistocene and another one is Holocene. During the Pleistocene, we have seen the biological evolution of the man, that is Homo sapiens started originated. And during the Holocene, we have seen the modern development of man, that is the cultural evolution has taken place. Okay. And we have seen the concept of mass extinction. So mass extinction is a period at which large scale of death will happen. Death of life will happen. More than 70% lost will be seen in the living organisms. That will happen in a very, very short period of time. Until now, we have seen 5 important mass extinctions. One is at the end of Ordovician, and the other one is at the end of the Devonian, and at the end of Permian. This is the 3rd mass extinction. But 90% of the life ended during this third mass extinction. Fourth one we have seen at the end of Triassic, and the fifth one we have seen at the end of the Cretaceous. Okay. So during this fifth mass extinction only, a large body, which is probably a meteoroid, has fallen on the earth at Yucatan Peninsula, because of which large amount of magma and earthquakes started developing. This led to the fifth mass extinction. Okay. And if you divide the Holocene into different ages, we can divide them into three important ages. One is Greenlandian, one is North Greppian, and the other one is Meghalayan. And Meghalayan age evidences can be found in the Meghalaya, that is Maula cave that is there. So geographers started finding evidences in the stalactite and stalagmite. Okay, these are the landforms that are there in the Maulva cave. They started finding the evidences of the change in the geography in this particular cave. That is the reason we have named the age which we are living as Meghalayan age. Okay, this is about the geological timescale. I hope you have understood it in detail. I am hoping that I have simplified this particular process to you to make you understand. Okay. So let's see if there is any question related to geological timescale. Which one of the following figures represents the age of the earth? It is definitely 4.6 billion years. Which of the following has the longest duration? So that is eon. We have studied, right? Eon, era, EEP. Okay, period, epoch and age. Next one, we have completed this in the last class. So this one in the last classes, and we have even seen the life of the earth appeared around how many years before the present. The life on the earth was appearing 3.8 billion years ago. And we have seen the other different questions also. Okay. Yeah. This was about this particular class. We have completed the geological timescale, that is the second topic of geomorphology. In the next class, we will be studying about the interior of the earth in detail. Okay, I'll be even covering the 7th class NCERT, which covers few parts of interior of the earth, and I'll cover the 6th class NCERT. I'll cover even the geomorphology part. Okay, part of the GC Leong. GC Leong has a part of geomorphology also, right? So I'll cover from that particular book also. Okay, I'll try to cover from all the sources so that this particular classes will be the one-stop solution to you. Okay, so kindly refer our classes to your friends if you are liking. Okay, so thank you everyone. Let's meet in the next class. So before leaving the class, let me remind you that please revise the class, and if you want to grasp the facts that are there in the geological timescale, re-listen to this particular class and come back to the next class. Okay, thank you everyone. Keep smiling. All the best and bye-bye.